In a recent major immigration policy speech, former President Trump outlined a vision that spells unprecedented trouble for Guyanese travelers. The proposed changes are not minor adjustments, they represent a fundamental rewrite of the rules. The most direct and immediate threat to the integrity of the U.S. immigration system is the proposed ideological screening test. This policy, if implemented, would fundamentally alter the way people from around the world are evaluated when seeking entry into the United States. Unlike traditional background checks that focus on security risks or criminal history, this new screening would delve into the personal beliefs, opinions, and even social media activity of applicants. The very idea of such a test raises profound questions about freedom of thought, the right to dissent, and the values that the United States claims to uphold. Under this system, consular officers and border agents would be empowered to deny visas or entry, not because of any proven threat, but simply based on an applicant's perceived political views or criticisms of U.S. policy. Imagine being turned away from a country, not for what you have done, but for what you believe, or for a tweet you posted years ago. The criteria for denial could be vague and ever-changing, making the process unpredictable and deeply unfair. This would mark a dramatic shift from the principles of due process and equal treatment that are supposed to guide immigration decisions. The consequences of such a policy would be far-reaching. It would create a highly subjective and politicized barrier to entry, where decisions are influenced by the personal biases of individual officers or by the political climate of the moment. People who have spoken out against U.S. actions abroad, who have participated in protests, or who simply hold views that differ from those in power could find themselves blacklisted. This would not only discourage open debate and honest expression, but also send a chilling message to the world that the United States is no longer a place where freedom of thought is respected. Families could be separated, students and scholars could be barred from pursuing their dreams, and talented professionals could be denied opportunities, all because of their beliefs. The ideological screening test threatens to undermine the very ideals that have long attracted people to America. It risks turning the immigration process into a tool for silencing dissent and enforcing conformity, rather than a gateway for those seeking opportunity and refuge. In the end, such a policy would not make the country safer. Instead, it would erode trust, fuel resentment, and damage America's reputation as a beacon of liberty and justice. The debate over ideological screening is not just about immigration. It's about what kind of nation the United States wants to be, and whether it will continue to stand for the values enshrined in its Constitution. As this proposal moves forward, it is crucial to consider not only its immediate effects, but also the long-term impact on the nation's identity and its relationship with the rest of the world. In a highly anticipated address, the government official took to the podium, standing before a sea of reporters and a backdrop adorned with the American flag. The atmosphere was tense as the nation waited to hear the administration's stance on immigration policy. The official speech, delivered with unwavering conviction, made it clear that the government remains steadfast in its commitment to the public charge rule, a policy that has long been a cornerstone of U.S. immigration law. This rule, which has evolved over the years, essentially states that individuals seeking to enter or remain in the United States must prove they will not become a financial burden on the country. The official's words left no room for ambiguity. The public charge rule would not only remain in place, but its enforcement would be strengthened and prioritized as a matter of national policy. The announcement was accompanied by the release of an official government document outlining the administration's renewed dedication to upholding the rule and ensuring that only those who can demonstrate financial self-sufficiency will be granted entry or allowed to stay in the United States. The speech was more than just a reiteration of existing policy. It was a declaration of intent to enforce the public charge rule with unprecedented rigor. The official emphasized that immigration authorities, consular officers, and border agents have been instructed to apply the rule with maximum rigidity, leaving little room for exceptions or leniency. This means that every application for a visa, green card, or change of status will be scrutinized with a fine-tooth comb, and any indication that an applicant might rely on public assistance could result in immediate denial. The message was clear: the United States is raising the bar for entry, and the days of lenient interpretation of the public charge rule are over. The government's resolve was symbolized by the image of a gavel striking a block, signifying the finality and seriousness of the new enforcement measures. At border checkpoints and airports, Officers are now conducting stricter security checks, carefully examining each traveler's documents and financial background to ensure compliance with the rule. The administration's goal is to protect the nation's resources and ensure that only those who can contribute to the economy are allowed to enter or remain in the country. For Guyanese travelers, the implications of this policy shift are profound and immediate. Families and individuals from Guyana, whether they are seeking to visit loved ones, attend business meetings, or simply explore the United States as tourists, now face a much higher hurdle. Even those applying for short-term tourist visas must be prepared for intense scrutiny. The process begins long before they reach the airport, as applicants must gather extensive documentation to prove their financial stability. Upon arrival at U.S. Customs, the anxiety is palpable. Lines move slowly as officers meticulously review each passport, ask probing questions, and examine supporting documents. For many Guyanese families, the fear of being turned away at the border or having their visa applications denied has become a harsh reality. The sight of a worried family clutching their suitcases, hoping for a positive outcome, is now all too common. Immigration officers tasked with enforcing the public charge rule are paying special attention to travelers from countries with lower average incomes, such as Guyana. They are looking for any sign that an applicant might not be able to support themselves during their stay, and even a minor discrepancy or lack of documentation can result in denial. The burden of proof now rests squarely on the shoulders of the applicant. To satisfy the requirements of the public charge rule, Guyanese travelers must present stacks of paperwork, bank statements, proof of employment, letters of invitation, and evidence of assets. Consular officers are looking for clear and convincing evidence that the applicant possesses a level of wealth and financial security far beyond what is typical for the average citizen of Guyana. This means that even well-intentioned travelers, who may have saved for years to afford a trip to the United States, could find themselves denied if their financial resources do not meet the new, elevated standards. The process is not only daunting but also emotionally taxing, as applicants must navigate a complex web of requirements and face the very real possibility of rejection. The image of a denied visa stamp on a passport has become a symbol of the new reality facing Guyanese travelers. For many, the dream of visiting the United States now seems out of reach, as the public charge rule is enforced with a level of strictness that leaves little room for hope. The administration's message is clear: only those who can unequivocally demonstrate their ability to support themselves will be welcomed, while others must look elsewhere for opportunity. Finally, the call to expand travel bans to include countries with inadequate security protocols places Guyana at direct risk of being added to a list that would suspend almost all visa categories entirely. The message from the speech was clear: the era of relatively accessible travel to the United States is over, and Guyanese citizens are in the crosshairs. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the constant stream of information coming from every direction. Every day we see high-level speeches delivered by politicians, government officials, and world leaders. These speeches often make headlines, but what do they really mean for you? How do the words spoken at a podium, or the promises made during a press conference, actually translate into the policies and regulations that shape your daily life? Understanding this process is crucial, especially in a time when decisions made at the highest levels can have immediate and lasting impacts on everything from your travel plans to your personal freedoms. For example, a new policy announced in a government speech might change the way you move across borders, the documents you need to carry, or the security checks you'll face at airports. These changes can affect your ability to visit family, go on vacation, or even return home from abroad. Sometimes the effects are subtle, like a new form to fill out or an extra step at customs. Other times they're dramatic, such as sudden travel bans or new restrictions that can disrupt your plans overnight. By staying informed, you can anticipate these changes, prepare for them, and make sure you're never caught off guard. That's why it's so important to stay connected with reliable sources of information. By subscribing to our channel, you're taking a proactive step toward understanding the world around you. Our team works tirelessly to break down complex policies, explain what's happening behind the scenes, and show you how these developments could impact your life. When you hit that subscribe button, you're not just following another channel, you're joining a community of people who care about staying informed, making smart decisions, and looking out for one another. And don't forget to ring the notification bell. With so much happening in the world, it's easy to miss important updates. By activating notifications, You'll be the first to know when we release new videos, breaking news, or in-depth analysis. Whether it's a sudden change in travel regulations, a new government announcement, or an expert breakdown of a complex issue, you'll have the information you need, right when you need it. This way, you can stay ahead of the curve and respond quickly to any changes that might affect you or your loved ones. Our goal is to empower you with knowledge. We believe that an informed public is a strong public. By watching our videos, engaging with our content, and sharing your thoughts in the comments, you become part of a larger conversation, one that values transparency, critical thinking, and community support. So, take a moment now to subscribe, ring the bell, and stay tuned for our latest updates. Together, we can navigate the complexities of today's world and make sure you never miss our crucial analysis.